Hello, all. Welcome to the show. I'm Gus Gagliardi, and this is Fire Code Tech. On Fire Code Tech, we interview fire protection professionals from all different careers and backgrounds in order to provide insight and a resource for those in the field. My goal is to help you become a more informed fire protection professional. Fire Code Tech has interviews with engineers and researchers, fire marshals, and insurance professionals, and highlights topics like codes and standards, engineering systems, professional development, and trending topics in the industry. So if you're someone who wants to know more about fire protection or the fascinating stories of those who are in the field, you're in the right place. Hello all, welcome to episode 61 of Fire Code Tech. On this episode, we're speaking with Michael Alcazar Fallas. Michael is speaking with us from Costa Rica, and he is a professional who specializes in special hazard systems. In this episode, we speak about Michael's formal schooling in Costa Rica in fire and life safety and also his experience in special hazard systems. Tune into this episode if you'd like to hear from a passionate young professional who discusses topics like special hazards, where to find tips and resources, and how to learn fire and life safety when English is your second language. Don't forget to give us a follow on social media and hit that subscribe button. Also, if you could give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, that would do me a big favor. Let's get into the show. Well, hello, Michael. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Fire Code Tech. How's it going today?
Hi Gus, thank you for having me today. A pleasure to be here. Everything fine over here actually. What about you?
Oh, yeah. Doing just fine. Doing just fine. No complaints. So, I like to get these interviews started with telling the listeners a little bit about your background. Would you give us a little bit of info about that, Michael?
Yeah, sure. Something about me related with fire protection and life safety. I discovered this field when I was there studying at the university because first I decided to study industrial engineering, but after a year I realized that that was something that I didn't want to do, and I have, and at that moment I had also friends that they were studying mechanical engineering. They are at the UCR. I studied at the University of Costa Rica. I saw their projects and everything, and I see that, and I think that that's one thing that I want to do as a professional. And something that I feel it's a bit curious is that the University of Costa Rica offers two programs. They offer mechanical engineering, just like that, and mechanical engineering with an emphasis on fire protection. So I decided to move to that side of the fire protection and mechanical engineering after that year of industrial engineering, and where they were a lot of things that I learned. Well, the basics of the mechanical engineering, they were all the same, fluid mechanics, structural mechanics, thermodynamics, heat mass transfer, topics that are useful in the we have to have some knowledge about them in the fire protection industry, but also we had courses like chemistry of fire, fire dynamics. The university has a small lab actually. Sprinkler system design. We have a couple of courses about that. Fire alarm systems, special hazard systems, and life safety systems. Actually, most based on NFPA 101, basically. And we have another courses. I don't remember something about hazard risk analysis and things like that. That's the way I discovered fire protection. I uh, at the beginning I didn't know that program existed, but that was something that appeared there, and I liked that I took that decision. Actually, I believe that this degree or program is one of the few in Latin America. I'm not 100% sure, but um, there are no a lot of universities offering degrees or programs with some sort of relation with fire protection as this one offers.
Very cool. I've never heard of that program. What's the name of the university and the program, Michael?
University of Costa Rica is one of the most important universities here in Costa Rica and Central America also.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that sounds interesting. They cool that you have a formal background in fire and life safety. I know a lot of people who get into the industry that don't have that kind of formal school or education. So that's neat to hear that you've had a formal introduction to the field.
Yeah, yeah, it was great actually.
Yeah, it's a big help for starting your career and being able to hit the ground running as fast as possible.
Yep.
And so, yeah, tell me about your professional experiences so far and the different jobs that you've had in your career. Or actually, let's spend a little bit more time on school. Tell me a little bit more about your coursework and what was your favorite coursework at this program that I've never heard of before.
Well, they were a couple. I liked fire dynamics, how the know about how the fire behaves, how it interacts with the room and all that. I find that very interesting, and that's something that we as kids sometimes we see a light and don't have any idea of how fire exists or why why the fire exists or how it behaves. And I that was a course that I liked a lot, especially because we have also a lab related with that course. And the special hazard course, it was very interesting, because well we see in that course we see clean agent systems, kitchen hood systems, uh, some of phone systems, and it's controlled, and well we study using NFPA. NFPA in Costa Rica is mandatory, so the university, some of the courses in the university are based on NFPA codes and standards, and I think that those courses were, yeah, the most that I feel passionate about the topic and how the relation between them actually.
Oh, I see. Well, very nice. Well, cool to hear about a little bit of what you really enjoyed. Yeah. So moving forward, like, what are the different kind of professional roles that you have had since being in school? Like, what kind of different jobs have you been involved with?
Yeah, well, my first job was as a design engineer with an Ansel distributor here in Costa Rica, where one of my professor used to work. Actually, it was the professor that was in charge of the special hazards course. So I remember one day he told us during classes that there was an open position in the office as a design engineer where he used to work, and I took the opportunity. I decided to apply. Well, I worked there for 4 years and a half, I think, and well, I learned a lot. I had the opportunity of doing designs of different systems. Well, while Ansul offers are specialty hazard systems. So I learned about kitchen hood systems. Well, actually, a lot of kitchen hood systems. That was the bread and butter of the department. Then clean agent systems and its control, all the control side, um, and well, inerts and halocarbons agents, Novik 1230 basically. I had the opportunity to design high pressure carbon dioxide systems for some industrial facilities and dry chemical systems, not very famous here in Costa Rica, but some dry chemical systems. Bladder tank foam proportioning system. Also, I remember a couple of systems I not designed, more specified on plans. But yeah, and all the control and detection of those systems. Heat detection, aspirating, smoke detection, spot type detection, and that. Well, I find that this position in this company was it was a very good experience because I not only designed all those systems, but also I was involved in the whole process in the company. Um, that means that I used to do quotations. I I did proposals. I did designs. I stayed in the field there during the installation or doing testing and maintenance tasks, and and sometimes performing the dirty task as putting yourself under a kitchen hood with a grill still hot at your side. So just because you needed to cut test fusible link to test the system, right? So I was part of the whole package. I'm gonna say it this way, um, and because sometimes I was there in the office, finding the client and offering our solutions to give them all the pre-sale service, and that was a very rich experience for me. Then I decided to change job, doing more things, doing things more related to the fluid power industry. Something interesting, at least for me, is that they have their own NFPA, National Fluid Power Association. But my involvement in this company was for a very very short period. After that, I jumped to Johnson Controls, and here I am.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, that sounds cool that you got such a good experience where you were getting to learn not only the specification and the installation and the testing and some maintenance of these systems, but also you got to learn how to market the service a little bit. So that sounds like a pretty good experience out of college. Although I bet it came with its challenges as far as being responsible for that much of the process. So moving forward, tell me a little bit about your role now and what kind of how your um, job has shifted from your previous position to what you do now.
Yeah, my previous position was more about special hazards, and now um, I've been working for JCI Johnson Controls for a year and a half, and I've learned a lot. So now I'm surrounded by a lot of professionals. There are guys that have a lot of knowledge about HVAC systems. Others are very skilled in CAD and Revit. There are designers that have a lot of knowledge in fire protection. So um, actually, the company has a department that see all these all related with sustainable performance of buildings, LEED certification, well certifications, and things like that. So I feel there's a lot to learn from these people and the company itself. And I my position right now it's as a MEP designer because Johnson controls here in Costa Rica have some divisions. One of those divisions it's a the MEP. So we see as mechanical because I am a mechanical MEP designer. Um, and I see all those HVAC systems, fan and coils, ventilation. I see fire protection systems, mostly sprinklers and standpipes. Um, and now that I in the company, I I I'm doing more complex clean agent systems, for example, and um, and all the plumbing side of the buildings, sewage, storm waters.
Michael, it sounds like you have a lot of experience in special hazards systems. So it's you already mentioned Novak systems and self-contained wet chemical systems and carbon dioxide systems. But yeah, I'd love to hear more about your experience in special hazards and maybe talk about, yeah, I don't know, whatever you would like to share about these systems. I have sparing experience with wet chemical and a limited and clean agent, but I always enjoy designing and looking at these systems because they are a bit more niche and special, just like their name.
What I used to do more in my first job was kitchen hood systems and clean agent systems, right? So kitchen hood systems are systems that are mostly or well are pre-engineered, so we only have to follow some rules and requirements. Uh, that are very interesting, mostly when you have those dual agent systems. You have the wet agent and you have water after the discharge of the wet agent. Those systems are very popular here in Costa Rica. Actually, a lot of hotels, big companies used to used to have them in their hoods.
All right, so yeah, so I'd just like to hear about your experience as, with special hazard systems was the question. If you could break into that a little bit more, Michael, if you wouldn't mind.
So about my experience with special hazards, um, I used to design a lot of restaurant systems, those from the kitchen hood systems, right? And well, these systems are very straightforward for me, at least. The main problem with with these systems sometimes is when the cook change the order of the cooking equipment. So we have to have that in mind when we are designing or we are selecting our system. But if it's the case that we aren't sure of how the layout of the kitchen is going to be uh, finally installed or something like that. The manufacturers have systems that we can design using overlapping appliance protection, for example. So all the nozzles uh, under the hood are placed at an equal distance between them. That gives us the advantage that we can change equipment, right, without losing that protection. That's very useful, and that's almost a standard in the hospitality industry. Then uh, there are systems that I find more interesting uh, gaseous systems actually, and the ones that I have more experience are the clean agent systems, halocarbon or inert. But what I have found out there is that there are people that are installing these systems uh, without understanding how the system interacts with the room, with the HVAC system, with the fire alarm system, with the BMS. So there is a very important definition in NFPA 4, the Standard for Integrated Systems Testing, and that's the and it's the definition of integrated system, right? That it's a combination of systems that are required to operate together as a whole. So we have to understand that if we have a system installed in our data center or telecommunication facility or whichever the room, we have to know the integrity of that place, of that room, doing an integrity or Erdorfan test, and uh, most of the times, if our room has a considerable dimensions, a damper or a damper it's not the word. I'm sorry. The pressure relief vent, we will need one. So I have seen many designs uh, that with inert gases, for example, that almost a standard to to place a vent on site, that the design, the plans doesn't have in any of the in the notes or in the plan itself, doesn't they don't specify the vent area, for example. So there was a project that I in which I was involved uh, here in at Johnson Controls. It was a very large MDF room, very interesting project actually, in which we calculated almost 8 pressure relief vents, I think. They were a lot of those devices, and it was an halocarbon gas that some people I have heard that says that no, you don't need pressure relief vents in those systems. The pressure of those systems, it's very low. The room can contain all that pressure. No, you have to do the calculations. There are guides that you can follow. So the information is out there. Some of these guides are for free actually. So and knowing this, the main idea here is knowing that these systems work as a whole, right? So other aspect that I have seen is that they tend to shoot off all the air conditioning systems, but sometimes you need them to to achieve that level of protection that you want, right? So in MDF rooms or telecommunication rooms, datacom rooms as a general, you you tend uh, to have these air conditioning systems or cracks and moving the air just because the there is no a because the client or because your well, because the client or sometimes because the standard doesn't allow you to put out the power to de-energize the system, right? Your datacom uh, facility. So the air conditioning keeps flowing, keeps moving the air. That's going to help you to help your system to move the air through all the room and reach all the places. And at the same time, but I'm sorry, at the same time, um, that's not the idea. Um, but you have to consider that if you are moving the air, you are moving the agent, and you are helping the agent to escape the room right from the leakage path. So you have to consider that and add an extra of agent or fill those gaps that the room has. Find a solution at the end of the day. Find a solution um, of how you can achieve that level of protection and those 10 minutes that the NFPA states, right? And other systems like carbon dioxide systems, very interesting ones too. Um, I did a couple of designs, mostly. Uh, well, those systems you see those systems in industrial facilities, and I remember doing one protecting a generator here in Costa Rica. Um, there are guides, also gives you guides how to design those systems. You just have to
Yeah, we can move on. I think you shared some great thoughts about uh this subject, and that's all I really wanted is some surface level musings or thoughts or experiences about uh special hazards. But I think you shared some great coordination topics, lessons learned, and project experiences. So yeah, that's great. So yeah, you reached out and contacted me about listening to the podcast, but I'd love to hear, we talked a little bit about on off air how you found the show, but I'd love to hear about how you found the show and what kind of other fire and life safety podcasts you like to listen to.
Yeah, well, it was during the pandemic that I was looking for some source of information um, related with fire protection, actually. And I started looking at Spotify, some podcast, and Firecode Tech appeared. And I started listening. I remember, and I think that the first episode that I heard was the one with Dr. Walshy, and sometime later he started his own podcast that I
Nice.
listened to. And there are others like fire protection podcast, and I would like to hear some podcast in Spanish, but I don't know any podcast related with fire protection industry. Yeah,
Yeah.
that it's in Spanish. But yeah, that was the way that I discovered your podcast because of the pandemic, and I think that a lot of people did that too, right?
Oh no, I was just gonna say that me and I have to find this. I know there's a Spanish speaking fire and life safety podcast. I talked about it on the JRA Riviera episode, but I never was able to find it. But I gotta find it. I've seen him post on LinkedIn a bunch. I'm connected with them, so I should be able to find it. But sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, it would be great to to hear about a podcast in Spanish.
Yeah. So, what kind of, so in addition to podcasts, what do you like to listen to or read to keep yourself updated on the industry and what your career is involved with, Michael?
Yeah, well, I tend to register. Well, there is a website that is called CC Magazine. That's a good resource for uh, engineering as a whole. And they have good articles actually. But I I like to hear or see webinars, so I am actively looking for them. SFP has a uh, very good webinars. Some are for free, some others aren't, but there is a good resource of information. They tend to gather a lot of professionals with different backgrounds, or you can see a technician talking with a PhD or a insurer professional. So the conversation that they um, form tend to be, in my opinion, very rich. And well, NFPA has a very good blog also. They touch some topics about the standards and codes. Um, LinkedIn, it's a very good source. I I follow some people there, a lot of people that I know I don't know, but that I see that they have knowledge, and sometimes I discover some webinar or some interesting article just because someone uh, hit link hit like, I'm sorry. um and there are a lot of people there in LinkedIn that I'm not afraid of give them of hit follow or contact or connect, something like that. Just the idea is to form a some sort of a network of professionals in which I feel that I can learn and hopefully one day be one of those um guys or girls sharing knowledge.
Yeah, I think you're already doing it by having an interest and sharing, what you've learned on the podcast, and that's how it all starts. Is appetite to want to learn more, and then get involved with sharing after you've learned some things. I bet you already have plenty to share with people who are getting into the industry. Bet more than you realize. But yeah, so what piece of advice on that thread of conversation would you have to somebody who is in a similar situation as you, but maybe has 4 years less experience? If there's a young professional who's doing work in Mexico and Latin America, what piece of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say to them that especially if they want to grow in the fire and life safety industry, um, well, Re- Reading is one of the best um, ways to understand a lot of things, because I could explain some um, definitions to you, but maybe I don't have that facility to connect or something. So reading is the the best advice that I can give to a person. So find a place that you see that they offer a quality content, um, and if you don't like to read, just find a podcast or go and register to a webinar or go to um, enroll in a more formal course, or join some professional society if you have one close to you. And there are different professional societies out there, right? SFPE, or you can join NFPA, you can join NFSA. So the information nowadays, it's everything. We can find everything, I think, on the internet. So you just have to type special hazard systems, life safety system, passive protection systems, and you're gonna find a lot of information. And also, be humble. Yeah, um,
Humble. Okay.
yeah, be humble. That you can know everything, right? So ask to other people, even you feel that that's going to be considered a stupid question. So just ask, just ask whatever you want, whatever you don't feel, and you are sure about how to design the system, or how to why this requirement exists, maybe, or things like that. That's my piece of advice.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like I don't hear people talk enough about reading. I think that it's because our culture has gotten so much more interested in quick stimulation from your phone or from podcasts. People are not as interested in going and reading a textbook or taking notes. So I appreciate you bringing that piece of advice up and, telling people that, hey, you got to get creative. If you don't enjoy reading, find a podcast. If a podcast is not for you, go and check out a more formal training course, or, there's a wide variety of resources out there. You just have to get a little creative. And I know that I'm um, one of those people who's talking about how there's not enough information out there for professionals, and I think there could be more, but I think that you can get creative and keep looking.
Yeah. Also, I find that reading is a way to to see the trends in the industry, and well, via LinkedIn you can see all of those things also. But uh, for example, if you want uh, to know about performance based design, in my experience, you have to read, you have to go to a textbook, you have to go to or attend a webinar or something like that, because there is a lot of information, and there are solutions, there are very advanced solutions. So for example, I'm gonna give you an example. I'm feeling that the construction industry is changing very fast, actually. You know that there are new materials, new construction methods, there are new technologies, and also uh, we have this sustainability trend of the buildings. And so, for example, here in my team at JCI, we are working in a project, a very interesting one, in which the architects decided to design a roof full of photovoltaic tiles. So, well, there are like photovoltaic windows, and those are those BIPV systems, building integrated photovoltaic systems. So if you see the layout, it's like having uh, 1,000 of skylights in a roof of an industrial facility. So I remember I had to investigate more about those systems, how they work, uh, about the UL listing, about the what does uh, IBC, what IBC says, what NFPA says, what the textbooks says about those systems, and how they interact with with the building and with my other systems. In this case, I wanted to know what happens with the temperature rating of the sprinklers, right? Because it's almost it's a skylight, a very large skylight in our facility. So I think that we as engineers, we have to understand that way of how the systems interact, and to take decisions at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great way to end it, Michael. That's a great example of how you have to be responsible not only for your discipline, but you have to understand how your systems interact with the building. And so I think that's a great point to end on. But I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show and speaking with me today.
No, thank you guys. A pleasure to be here and talked with you.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Be sure to share the episode with a friend if you enjoyed it. Don't forget that fire protection and life safety is serious business. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are by no means a professional consultation or a codes and standards interpretation. Be sure to contact a licensed professional if you are getting involved with fire protection and or life safety. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.